too much. What's there left to say? Throw your stones the river. Like me it drifts away. I would watch you stare. I would watch you stare. Oh, but there's no one there. We can figure this out. Put your feet down. We are the lucky ones. Swallow your choice, it's done.
Hello everybody, I'm reading Finding Yvonne by Brandy Colbert? Names, yeah. So, I am a little over halfway through. And so far, I'm enjoying it. But I'm gonna admit it's a little rough for me to read. And I don't know why. I keep putting it down. So this, as short as it is taking me longer to read than other books double the length. So it's kind of frustrating me because I feel like I need to be just done with this book. I got like a quarter of the way through and I started to realize that the synopsis on the back of the book, on the back of this arc anyway, is maybe a little misleading in terms of how stuff is happening in the book. Like, I'm halfway through now, but the book opens up and Yvonne already lost her love of music. Like, her private tutor for violin has dumped her after 11 years, realizing that she doesn't want it anymore, so he didn't want to keep trying to teach her. So like, that hurt her. But like, even her school orchestra teacher is like, Yvonne, it doesn't seem like your heart is in it anymore. So they're like, everyone's telling her not only that, like, necessarily that she doesn't have enough talent, but also that like her heart isn't in the music either. That's a little bit different than what I was thinking it was going to be, but I get that because I like the struggle that she's going through, because, you know, she's 17 going on 18 in this book. She's faced with going through college, and when she thought she was going to be doing the violin her whole life, and realizing that, okay, she's not good enough for conservatories and she doesn't have the love of it that she may be used to, and she doesn't really know what happened, and she doesn't know like what she's going to do. I understand that. Like, I connect with that on a deep level, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing either. I think a lot of seniors who are supposed to be getting ready for college will feel that on a level. So I connected with Yvonne on that. I like that aspect. And, you know, her father is like a chef owner of his own restaurant now. So he is a successful restaurant owner in LA. So it's really nice to see a book about a Black family that her father has worked really hard and he has become really successful, but she does have a strained relationship with him because of that, because he has worked so hard. He has thrown himself into running the restaurant, and you know, that kind of made them more distant with each other. And Yvonne's mom left when she was a young girl, so she's kind of dealing with that as her birthday comes up, and she's getting ready to turn 18, and she's kind of seeing that as the last opportunity for her mom to like come back or care about her one last time. So she's feeling all these emotions, like, you know, still like, why did mom leave me? All those kinds of like tense emotions. And it's pretty interesting to see that the mom left. Like, maybe she just couldn't handle having a family, and the dad stuck around and worked really hard to become successful and to support his family. So I felt like that was a very nice portrayal to see that the dad was there and working hard, and that you can tell that he loves Yvonne even though he is emotionally distant. Like it's a little rough going, but he cares about her, and it's good. I like the characters. So I like Yvonne. I think the characters are well written. Like I'm connecting with them. I like them. Yvonne's best friend, Sabina. I love when you see the main character have a best friend and the best friend's actually there. Like she's around. Like Yvonne goes to her friend's house when she's having a party and she's like, you know, I'm having a hell of a night, like I can't go into the party, but and her best friend comes like running out to the car and she's like, let me in, I'm gonna sit here and talk to you. So it's nice to see that friendship aspect there and the support that's there. There is some interesting like tension between them because Yvonne has a boyfriend and she has slept with other guys before, and Sabina wants to wait until marriage. So I feel like we're starting to get into a thing like Sabina's kind of starting to mention like not quite like slut shaming, like maybe her words come out wrong, and Yvonne's like, oh. But I like that the book's not slut shaming. Like, okay, so Yvonne has this boyfriend, Warren, who works for her father in the restaurant, and he's 21. So she's 17 going on 18, and I guess they've been like seeing each other for maybe 2 years, it said in the book. And he has been like respectful of her and didn't want to sleep with her or anything, and just really kept the relationship, I guess, like on the down low, and because he wanted to be respectful of her father, working with her father, and like their age difference. So I really like Warren. He's a really nice guy. He is biracial, which they talk about in this book a lot because his blackness gets erased by other people. When an article gets written about him in the LA Times about him being like an up-and-coming chef, the fact that he is biracial, that he is black, that aspect is like erased. So I like that that is brought up as part of his character and his identity. So Warren is kind of like a really sweet guy, and obviously Yvonne has known him for quite a while, and I started to get confused because she said they'd been together for 2 years, but then she said she'd slept with 2 guys in her high school, just guys that she knew. It sounded like mostly because Warren wouldn't sleep with her. I was like, do they have an open relationship, or is she cheating on him? Because I hate cheating storylines. Like that is one of my like #1 disliked storylines, is cheating. So I started to get confused because I was like, you've been together for 2 years supposedly, even if it's been like not necessarily like a fully established relationship, I guess. And Yvonne kept saying stuff like the relationship won't like really mean anything, or the relationship won't fully like start until they have sex. And I was like, but you've already been seeing each other for like 2 years, so okay, like if that's your determining factor, okay. So she meets Omar, who is the street musician who also plays violin, and she goes to him because like he understands the music aspect of her life, when both her father and Warren and even Sabina, like no one truly understands that part of her. They're all involved in other aspects like food and cooking. So Omar's there for a different part of her life, and she's reaching out to him to try to see like he and like his other like street musician friends look like they still really enjoy music, like their heart is still in it. She wants to figure that out, like if she can get that back somehow, if she can figure it out, that kind of thing. So I understand where she's coming from, but like she's kind of on the outs with Warren, and I understand why. but she starts kind of seeing Omar, and they're basically going on a couple dates, and she's kissing him, and then she sleeps with Warren. But he was like, oh, is this your first time? And she's like, yeah, with anyone besides myself. And I was like, and a paragraph later she's like, oh, Warren knows that I've been with other guys. And I was like, would he ask if this was your first time, if he knew you were with those other guys? I don't think he knows that you were with those other guys that you slept with while you were with him, maybe. Like, this is why I was getting confused, because I was like, did you two have an open relationship over the last 2 years? And I just like missed that description, because there's been no word of Warren seeing women while being with Yvonne. So I was like, is she just cheating on him? And she's like, I wonder if I should tell him about Omar, because I feel like Omar might stay in the picture. And I'm like, what do you get? What is your relationship like? If you have an open relationship, I feel like I need to know, otherwise it just comes across as cheating. And I don't want to continue to read half this book if you're going to be bouncing back and forth between the two guys, not telling either of them that you have an actual like boyfriend or what's happening. I was like, so yeah, I'm getting a little frustrated. I don't like cheating storylines, and I can't tell if this is an actual cheating storyline or if this is like an open relationship and no one's actually just freaking saying anything, because it's not. Somewhere there's still supposed to be a pregnancy, and I just don't even know where or when. And the music aspect, I don't know. I still have half the book to read, so yeah. I like a lot of the talk of music. You know, Omar tells Yvonne, like, don't let anybody tell you how to feel about the music. And like, I kind of like that, like, because that can be applied to anything. Like, don't let anyone tell you how you feel about the things that you are passionate about, you know, and like, don't let anybody make you feel bad for the things that you do like, and that kind of stuff. And I like a lot of the talk about like how hard like Yvonne and her dad and Warren, and like how hard they've all had to work, like just how much harder they've had to work for being Black to be so successful in their lives. And I like the different relationships that Yvonne has with her family, her friends. I like that. I do really like that. Yvonne is starting to bake, and I think that's starting to give her like a better connection with her dad, who I'm hoping that will give them like an opportunity to see eye to eye, you know, if that's something that she's passionate about besides violin. Maybe that would be cool. And then like her dad would have something to connect with her about on a food culinary level, right? Even though they're like, you could go be a pastry chef, and she's like, I don't know if that's what I want to do, but it's just interesting, and I like it. I do really like it. There's just been some like roadblocks thrown my way that I was like, wasn't quite expecting that. Wasn't quite expecting these aspects of like sort of cheating aspects. Still can't quite tell if that's what they're meant to be. I kind of dread like reading the rest of the book, if she's gonna be going back and forth. And I was like, but we'll see. There's already been some hints that I've marked that I'm like, do I know where this is going? Probably. Probably. I think Yvonne knows where this is going. Omar is Omar. Like, she sees him, she sees that he has a past, that he's friends with his partner, his ex-partner, and that they're still doing music together, and they still are roommates. They were roommates. I'm gonna keep reading. Alright. Thank you.
Till you break my heart. Until you break my thought. Till you break my thought. I'm throwing wishes in the wild in hopes that you.
Okay, so I'm on page 222 out of like 276. So I'm almost to the end, but some things are playing out the way I assumed they were going to. So that's, you know, it is what it is. On page 206, I think we finally got the words that Yvonne is not in a committed relationship with Warren, and I was like, I could have used those specific words earlier on in the book. If they were there, I missed them, but I don't think they were there. Or it just, maybe it was meant to be seen as more casual and I just wasn't picking up the hints. Like, Yvonne didn't think it was gonna be serious until they slept together, so I'm like, I guess it just, they weren't in a committed relationship. And yeah, there's never any mention if Warren's sleeping with anybody, but he kind of treats Yvonne like she's his girlfriend. Like, it feels like he kind of has that expectation. Like, even when she's still mad at him and she's kind of treating him more as like a friend and just being supportive of him and what's going on in his life, it seemed like he still liked her more than she liked him, which is not Yvonne's fault. But then he's saying he loves her, and then all of a sudden, like, she's saying she loves him, and I'm like, okay. It's just, I wasn't really feeling that. Like, she would say it. Then why are you so stressed about seeing Omar? Like, I don't know. It just, and Warren was like, before they had sex, he was like, don't worry, I've gotten tested, I'm clean. And she was just like, okay, great. And she didn't say like a freaking word about anybody else she's been seeing, that she had just slept with Omar. And I'm like, okay. I love the sex positivity in this book, that the characters talk about it and it's not seen as a negative thing, and Yvonne's just, she's just doing her thing. She's doing what she wants. And I love that. It's just, I don't know if it's because like the characters are falling kind of flat for me, that I'm sitting there going, I don't know. Like, her friend Sabina is still trying to be supportive, but she at one point was like, I'm a little worried because I think you jump into things too fast with guys, and I think maybe that has something to do with the fact that your mom's gone and maybe you need to talk to somebody, you know, pulling out some inner therapist, because I think one of her moms is a therapist. She has 2 moms, which I thought was very lovely, a nice aspect. I don't think there were any other queer characters in the story, but 2 moms. And Yvonne immediately like takes offense at Sabina saying that, like, I don't have mom issues, don't make me feel bad for doing what I want, which right, you shouldn't. There should be no like slut shaming for anything like that, but I feel like maybe that wasn't Sabina's intention. I'm starting to feel like Yvonne's just kind of a shallow character, which I only have this much left, so I'm like, unless she goes through a lot of character development. I like flawed characters. They gotta go through some development. There has to be some consequences to shitty behavior, to the way they treat other people, to the things that they do, things they say. There has to be some growth. If all you are is just doing whatever you want and being unapologetic about it, okay, that's great. But if there's literally no growth, I'm like, why are we reading your story then? Do you know what I mean? I feel like there needs to be something more, because I feel like the way she treats her friends like they're jealous, instead of actually like maybe thinking about what they're saying. Because Sabina's never been like, oh, you're a whore for sleeping with 2 men in the same week. She never said that. I'm kind of not feeling it. I don't have too many more pages left, and I'm just like, Yvonne's been pregnant for all of like, I don't know, 10 pages. So I'm like, but there's been some frank discussions of options with pregnancy, like that she can have the baby, she can give the baby up, she can have an abortion. So I like that there's all these frank discussions that don't always come up in YA books. You know, she talks about going to Planned Parenthood. I don't know why I'm struggling so hard with this. Like, I think about some other contemporary books I've read recently that I liked, that had flawed characters, but that like they were selfish, and then they had character growth. They recognized when they were being kind of shitty people. And I feel like I'm not really getting that with Yvonne right now. Maybe by the end. Like, the book's called Finding Yvonne, so I feel like there's got to be some kind of growth in there somewhere. You know, she still doesn't know what she's doing with her life, like what she wants to do, but she's finding that she, like, you know, she loves baking, and she's trying to figure out if that is something she could want to do. And now with the pregnancy, that's where it's coming into play, where she's like, oh, well, now what? It doesn't really necessarily have to do with the violin, which is what the synopsis made it sound like, because she loves the violin, but at this point she's not really considered that as like a future option. You can love music, but you don't have to do it for your profession if it's not going to work out. So I like that she's exploring other things that she enjoys, that she could be good at. with proper training, and it's nice. I like that aspect. And the writing style is very sparse. It's very minimal in description, and it kind of works because, you know, it's contemporary, but it's a very dry, minimal description, and I'm okay with that. But I think it becomes even more apparent when the writing style is very telling instead of showing. Like, she'll literally say, like, I hate it, I feel like this, constantly throughout the book. I'm like, I know this is first person point of view, but like, there are other ways to show how the character's feeling without literally saying it. I feel like there's some deeper meaning with Yvonne playing the violin and baking, and I feel like that's when we get some of the most descriptions, is when there's food and cooking and her playing the violin and music. That's when we get the most descriptions, and they're still very dry. It kind of works for the style of the book. You read about Yvonne baking and she's putting her feelings into baking, or she's putting her feelings into playing the violin, and you get that. Like, you get that she's putting her feelings into these different passions of hers. I'm mostly enjoying it. I need something. I need something from these characters, because right now they're just very, I like a lot of the familial and friendship relationships in here, way more than any of the like romantic aspects. So if this book had been more about Yvonne and deciding her future between like the violin and baking, cooking, or just finding something and having friends and family support, like, I feel like that would have been really good. And then it's just the love triangle kind of aspect that really kind of felt like cheating while you're reading the book. Like, it felt like she was cheating on Warren, even though I guess they weren't in a committed relationship. It kind of felt like that. It was kind of rough for me to read because of that. So I'm like, okay. I thought the pregnancy part was going to be a big factor in the book, and it's really not. So because of that, I'm like, how big of a deal was the romance in this book? I mean, really. Anyway, I'm gonna keep reading.
For yourself, and know there was a time when we never let go, never let go. Ooh, we never let go.
Okay, I finished. So it ended the way I thought it was going to, which I'm glad for. Hi, kitty. Hi. And I will say it was good. I realized maybe one of the issues I was having is that I was like, I'm expecting growth from this character, and I was like, maybe she's a static character and she doesn't really change throughout the novel for the positive or for the negative, and that's okay. I think it's rarer to find a static character arc, and I think that's maybe what I was struggling with, is that Yvonne is kind of already strong, where she stands up for herself, for what she wants, what she believes in. She doesn't take shit from people. Like, I love that. She already has these caring relationships with people, a little bit distant with her dad, and so that's one of the subplots in the book, is her trying to connect with her dad and her absent mom and her missing figure in their lives, and her best friend who is supportive through the whole rest of the book, and she kind of fades away after all of the supposed like slut shaming. Like, there's a moment where she apologizes and she kind of tries to clarify and say, like, I really was just worried for you. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what it sounded like. Where she's like, I'm trying not to be judgmental though. So I like that kind of stuff. And the plot line with Omar was rushed and it was almost unnecessary, but I kind of like that Yvonne was strong throughout it, even if that situation didn't turn out the way she expected. She knew that she had wanted to be with him, and she was like, I don't regret it. Like, I wanted it at the time. Like, I can't regret it. And I was like, I kind of really like that. Like, I like Yvonne's character. And Warren, the whole thing was that it's like, I was so confused about what their relationship was. And in the end, we were getting language like they weren't in a committed relationship and they weren't together. Hi. So Warren is like a good guy throughout most of this, even when they're fighting, and Yvonne still stands up for herself, and that's something that I really like. Like, Yvonne was still going to be strong. Hi. And she is just strong overall. Like, she is a strong character, and I feel like she's been strong since the beginning. So we're going to the end, and I don't feel like she really changed much or learned much, and that's okay. Like, I think it's okay for Yvonne's character to be strong and to go through some struggles and still come out mostly the same. Or at least that's how it feels to me reading this book. Now I have cat hair. Okay. Hi. I will say the pacing in the very end was rushed. So it's like all of the storylines were trying to be wrapped up all of a sudden. Like the storylines with Omar and Warren, it's like all of a sudden everything was getting rushed, and her dad and her missing mom, like that kind of stuff was getting rushed into the very like last couple pages, like out of nowhere. And I'm like, ugh, I know this has been a thing the entire time, but suddenly Yvonne was talking about music therapy. She said, I love the violin, and music brings me comfort and joy, so like it can do that for other people, I hope. It's like we went from one chapter to the next, and we didn't get Yvonne even like contemplating that before she went back to her teacher with like, okay, yeah, music therapy. The last we heard, when her teacher gave her options to do with having learned music or to continue studying music without going to conservatories, Yvonne was like, nah. Like, Yvonne didn't really show an interest in any of those. So I felt like the rest of the book was Yvonne like baking. And I felt like maybe that's where she was going to go, but then suddenly she like flipped back and went back to the music, which is fine because that's obviously one of her biggest passions. I just wanted to see that change going on in her mind, like see her considering the option, like the pivotal moment when she realized the music brought her joy. Like, I would have wanted to connect that moment to her going, I can't give this up. I can't not have music in my life. Maybe there is still something I can do. And then have her go talk to the teacher about her music choices, instead of having to come out of nowhere again and having had Yvonne not think about her options for music at all. It came out of nowhere. And then she was still saying she didn't know if she wanted to be a pastry chef. Like, her options are open, and then we don't get closure. Which is okay. It's a contemporary. Oftentimes at the end of contemporaries, we don't get closure for stuff, you know? You get, especially for high school, like you get the open-ended, like usually a bittersweet moment that it's like, it's going to be okay, like whatever happens from here, like somehow we'll be okay. And that's kind of how this one ended up. I just wish there would have been like one more callback to the choice of like the music with a pastry chef, because of the scene where we left it off on, like right before, like the last few paragraphs are really nice. I really love the message. I just wanted like one more callback. Like, we got some closure on some things, but she still doesn't know what she's going to pursue. But whatever she does, like, it's going to be okay. Instead, it's like the focus at the end of the book kind of ended up switching, even though I feel like I was like, wasn't that the purpose of the book? Like, the entire time? Instead, it was like that last little bit. I feel like the focus of the book was changing. Maybe because of like the pregnancy storyline that came up all of a sudden, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know. My mom's like, someone can't go through this without changing, but I'm like, she started out strong and she's made some decisions, but even when she recognized that she made some foolish options, like she recognized that and then like she moved on. She's like, oh yeah, that could have turned out better. Like, maybe that didn't turn out the way I wanted, but hi kitty. But like, she recognized that she made some decisions that were not so good, usually only in like one area, I would say, like in regards to Omar or Warren. She apologized a couple times for things that she said or did, and that's really it. That's why I was like, no, she kind of remained the same character throughout the book, but that's okay. Like, it's okay to have a static character. It's just, I feel like it's rare, and I think maybe after reading some of the other contemporaries in the last few months, I think maybe I was expecting something different. Instead, I got a story of a teenage girl who's pretty much already like self-made. Like she's already so independent and strong and just self-reliant that no matter what she goes through, she starts to rely on her friends and her dad and stuff more. But it's like no matter what she goes through, she's still that same strong person. So it was kind of a complicated book for me to read because it was kind of a struggle for me to read, and it kind of felt like a cheating storyline for a lot of the time. But I'm realizing that I guess it wasn't, even though it still feels like it from reading it. So I would have liked some of the language, like early on saying that, yeah, I was seeing him for 2 years, but we're not together, like we're free to see other people. I wouldn't be so confused about what's happening right now throughout the entirety of the book. It kind of led to some confusion for the end anyway, like Warren's reactions, and I don't know. But I like a lot of the representation. I like a lot of the messages. It's good. It's really good. And overall, I would give this 4 stars. My light turned off. Oh, okay. I'm leaning toward, I halfway through, every time I put it down, I would have said like 3 stars. Not because I wasn't enjoying it, but because my feelings are complicated for this book. And now that I finished it, and now that I'm thinking about it and how much I do like Yvonne, as strong and flawed as she is, the book's not perfect and it is an arc. So I mean, I would like to see if maybe some of the things I took issue with were maybe addressed. I don't think there were any typos, so that's nice. These are all just tabs for things that I thought were great. I was tabbing certain storylines along the way, but a lot of the things that they were talking about, music and your passions and things like that, I ended up marking a lot of those passages because I loved it. Like, not letting anybody tell you how to feel and not taking shit from anybody, okay? Like, just in general, there's a lot of positivity, and regardless of how a lot of the storylines turned out, I feel like a lot of the quotes and the messages in a lot of the storylines are still true. This is, I guess I would give this a 4 stars. It's maybe a little bit under for me, 3.5, 3.75 if we're really going in between. But I would give it like a solid 4 stars probably, because I did like it. And it's a pretty solid contemporary. I think with a little bit of pacing issues in the back half of it. But it was good. Like, the writing style was consistent all the way through. The character was consistent all the way through. Like, even when she's like temperamental and stuff like that, like, that was pretty consistent. So I really liked it. So Finding Yvonne comes out August 7th. That's in a couple weeks, but probably by the time you guys see this, it's going to be after. I hope you guys will pick up this book if you like contemporary stories, especially if you like teens searching for their passion in life. It was just a good, solid story, and developing friendships, supportive friendships, family relationships. I really liked it. Alright, so yeah, hopefully you guys will check out this book and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know in the comments down below if you are thinking about reading Finding Yvonne. If you have already read Finding Yvonne, let me know your thoughts. If you do go read this book, come back, let me know your thoughts and opinions. I would love to discuss this book with anybody, especially like someone come talk to me about books. Okay, all right. So it was a good book. It was a good book. What else can I say? Okay, all right. I'll see you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.